Sometimes the promises of God feel slow, until his silence becomes the very place he teaches us to see him. The desert night lay quiet over Abraham's tent, the wind brushing the canvas like a whisper of unanswered prayers. Abraham sat alone beside a dim oil lamp, its flame trembling just like the hope inside him. Years had passed. Promises had aged. And the stars God once told him to count now felt like reminders of what he still did not have. Sarah watched him from the shadows of the tent. Her heart tightened again. Every moon cycle came and went like a silent mockery. She pressed her hand to her stomach. Flat, empty, painfully quiet. "Lord, why?" she breathed. She paused and had another deep breath, the kind that carries more ache than words ever could. "Lord," she whispered into the deep quiet, her voice a dry, fragile leaf in the wind. "Why has your word failed me?" There was no thunder, no burning bush, only the silence teaching of God. The strain of endless waiting finally snapped the delicate thread of faith. One sun-drenched morning, Sarah looked at Hagar, her young Egyptian maidservant, and saw not a helper but a vessel. Hagar possessed what Sarah had lost, the potential for life. Sarah's voice trembled, not with anger, but with the exhaustion of disappointment. With a voice brittle from disappointment, Sarah proposed the unthinkable to her husband Abraham. "Take Hagar. Perhaps God will give me a child through you." Hagar's eyes widened, fear, confusion, helplessness all weaving into one. Abraham hesitated, his shoulders sagging beneath the weight of a choice born from human impatience. He was tired. His hope was thin. Instead of clinging to the impossible promise, he chose the expedient, the human path. He agreed, a sigh beneath his breath heavier than the fate he was setting in motion. It was a choice born not of malice, but of the deep, agonizing fear that God had simply forgotten. And so it happened. A decision made in the dark room of waiting. One that would set hearts colliding for generations. Hagar conceived. Her pregnancy transformed her. She carried a visible hope, and with it, a newfound sense of worth. But for Sarah, this visible hope became a crushing mirror reflecting her own emptiness. The household fractured. A silent, thick hostility replaced the easy calm. Hagar, suddenly elevated, grew proud. Sarah, wounded and replaced, descended into bitterness. One evening, Sarah confronted Abraham, her pain erupting. "This wrong is on your head. You stood by while she scorned me." Abraham, paralyzed by his own mistake, yielded. "She is your servant. Do as you see fit." Wounded power became cruel power. Sarah began to deal with Hagar harshly, relentlessly. A conflict neither woman asked for became their shared, agonizing reality. Broken by mistreatment and fear, Hagar fled. She ran blindly, clutching the child of the promise gone wrong in her womb, carrying only the dust of her shame. The wilderness swallowed her tears. Alone beneath the harsh sun, she collapsed beside a lonely spring, resigned to fear and despair. She was trapped, running from pain but with nowhere to go. And then, in the absolute abandonment of the desert, she encountered the absolute intimacy of God. A presence manifested, not in fire but in quiet, powerful authority. "Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Salty tears cut clean tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "I am fleeing from my mistress, Sarah." The voice was firm yet saturated with compassion. "Return to her and submit. I have seen your affliction." Then came the promise, a lifeline just for her, the secondary woman. "I will surely multiply your descendants, so that they cannot be numbered." The heat did not lift. The hard ground did not soften. But in that moment, Hagar's story changed entirely. She named that place of encounter, and she named the God who found her. She lifted her weary head, whispering the divine title. "You are El Roi, the God who sees me." God had not overlooked her pain, her secondary status, or her desperate flight. He had pursued her into the wilderness, offering her a personal promise that transcended the chaos of her human situation. Restored and strengthened not by a change in her circumstances, but by the sight of her God, Hagar turned back. She walked out of the wilderness and back into the tent of her suffering, carrying not just a child, but the quiet, invincible assurance of the God who sees. Time stretched on, and then, God returned to Abraham and Sarah with a word that broke the boundaries of human reason. Sarah laughed. Then God made her laugh again, this time with joy. as she held Isaac, the child of promise, close to her chest. But tension rose once more. Isaac and Ishmael, Sarah and Hagar. Abraham standing between two worlds. Yet through every conflict, one thread remained steady. God was faithful. To Abraham. To Sarah. To Hagar. To Ishmael. To Isaac. Through human mistakes, God still wrote mercy into the margins. Through broken choices, he still wove redemption. Because the story was never about perfect people, but a perfect God guiding imperfect hearts. Sometimes we run like Hagar. Sometimes we doubt like Sarah. Sometimes we hesitate like Abraham. Yet in all our wandering, God sees. God hears. God restores. The Lord is the God who sees me. Genesis 16 verse 13. Let this be your reminder today. Even in the wilderness of your waiting, God sees you. If this story blessed you, share it to remind someone that God still sees them.